Dr. Ozil Ndagijimana presented a draft law seeking to amend and complement the current law pertaining to this current 2020-2021 fiscal year. The move looks to increase the 3.2457 trillion Rwandan franc budget by 6.7% to 3.4648 trillion. The minister told the parliamentarians during a virtual session that the budget's internal funding will jump from 1.6057 trillion to 1.7847 trillion Rwandan francs, and that's an increase of 11.1%. Money from taxes will increase from 1.4214 trillion to 1.5799 trillion, also up by 11%. Non-tax revenue will go up from 184.3 billion Rwandan francs to 204.8 billion. International aid will increase from 492.5 billion to 592.2 billion Rwandan francs. There is a reason for this. Non-tax revenue will increase from 184.3 billion Rwandan francs to 204.8 billion. That's an increase of 20.5 billion Rwandan francs, largely made up of support worth 16.4 billion Rwandan francs from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, that decided to erase the debt Rwanda owed it so that it can be diverted to the national budget because of the Covid-19 pandemic. Funds from international aid are expected to increase by 99.7 billion Rwandan francs from 492.5 billion to 592.2 billion Rwandan francs, largely because the World Bank has agreed to change up to 50% of its new loans to Rwanda this year into grants in order to reduce the country's national debt. Funds allocated to the regular budget will rise to 1.5954 trillion, up from 1.583 trillion Rwandan francs. Money meant for developmental projects will reach 1.3361 trillion, increasing from 1.2985 trillion Rwandan francs, with money put aside for government investments hitting 471.7 billion from 306.5 billion Rwandan francs. Parliamentarians have noted that while some sectors have seen an increase in the budget allocated to them, others have seen the opposite happen. The changes are necessary and we commend them, especially in sectors like health where they are obviously necessary. However, we have noticed a sharp increase in the budgets of some institutions, while others had theirs reduced. An example would be NIRDA, the National Industrial Research and Development Agency, that saw a budget increase of 90%. We intend to ask the minister what would require such an increase in this particular agency, when things like the Ministry of Health are getting an increase of just 8%. Things like the Ministry of Education and the Rwanda Education Board (REB) will see cuts of up to 14.4%. The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources (MINAGRI) down 4.1%, with the Rwanda Agriculture Board (RAB) getting 4.9% less. This raises questions. Have some projects been abandoned? Are there restructures to be done? And that is what we will ask the Honourable Minister. The extra funds are to go to paying salaries in new institutions as well as existing ones, with some personnel now charged with fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, others in the education sector, as well as money to pay debts owed by the government and boost its investment portfolio. The draft law will now be examined by the Parliamentary Committee on National Budget and Patrimony in the Chamber of Deputies.